Hey there guys, PC Guy here, and we're going to be taking a quick look at Dreadlands. It's a game that's currently on beta on Steam. There was no NDA for the early access that I got, so I'm free to put this up. And it is a turn-based RPG that has a launch date expected to Q1 2020, so anytime in the next 3 months, no specific date other than that. And well, it has a score of 6 out of 10 on Steam right now, although that might or might not be a product of the being a beta product, not completely finished, as well as, well, less than popular genre, let's say. So keep in mind that it is a beta product, it's not finished, there are still things that are going to be added, take that into consideration into the feedback that I'm going to give, and well, a lot of things that are basically essentials are still missing or in not a very handy spot, so hopefully that will going to be fixed before the game actually goes live. My first piece of criticism starts right at the launcher. The settings that you can adjust in the launcher as far as well, game quality goes, graphics wise, they are sufficient, even slightly, well, let's say incomplete. There's not a whole lot of different settings to choose from. The criticism that I have to give here, though, is that in-game there are no such settings. You cannot access a settings menu in-game, at least not that I found. So if you want to change your settings, you have to close the game and go back in, as opposed to just do it in-game quickly. Getting in-game, the first thing you have is a screen telling you that it's early access and you only have a few things to try. And then you get the cinematic showing the story of the world and the selection of 3 different factions that you can play that play in, well, slightly different ways from each other. You have Thripekin, we have Scrappers, and the Scarbacks are still locked, probably a product of being beta, so I expect to see them available when the game actually starts. Once you pick a faction, you're thrown into the tutorial that gives you an idea how to play the game. It is relatively simple while at the same time requiring some strategical thinking. You have a certain amount of movements that you can do per turn, including attacks. You move in a, well, tile-based movement grid, and you have to take in consideration things like, for ranged attacks, the angle that you're shooting at your enemies, if they are behind cover or not, and then there's a few more intricacies such as items that you can use, ammo for your ranged weapons, and well, as well as other game mechanics that are related to combat and to actually taking out enemies and getting victory. After the tutorial is when my criticism really starts. You get thrown into your hideout in a sort of town-esque setting. Some settings are locked, most of them are locked actually. You cannot recruit new fighters, you cannot change a lot of things, and that gets unlocked as you level up and complete other missions. However, while you do get a pop-up on your screen when you come into town after completing those requirements, you don't really necessarily get an explanation on how to use them or what they should be handled as, or for example for recruiting troops, you don't get an explanation of what each stat does on the troops, or what troops are better for this, what are better for that. Same goes for equipment that you can put on your troops. You don't necessarily have a very clear explanation of what each item that you loot is used for or anything like that. I guess you're expected to just figure it out yourself. However, when you get very strange stuff to use like dog bones or whatever, then you really cannot figure it out that easily. You quickly get the quest from the village head to go out and meet some people and do stuff, so the quest line at least goes on pretty quickly. There's also a PvP or co-op setting, which due to it being early access beta, I didn't really find anyone walking around in the world, so I could not really test that, but the quest line at least is functional. A lot of things seem to be capped at most at level 3, so it's extremely early beta. With having played only a couple hours, I was level 2 already, so that does go fast, and you will reach the maximum amount of stuff you can play right now quickly. Going out of your base into the open world, you are presented with a very zoomed out open world map, so don't expect actual gameplay as in an open world RPG where everything is extremely detailed. You just walk around the area in a very, well, let's say a very far removed manner, and there are things on the map like enemies to fight, settlements to explore, and things like caves and special battles to do. When you start actually doing the battles on the map is when you really start to see the disconnect between the tutorial and the actual gameplay. The tutorial was extremely easy, no problems there. The battles on the map are a bit more difficult. And as you see right now on the screen, if you noticed over the past couple of seconds, I noticed another kind of bug slash feature that needs a bit polishing. When you hover your mouse at the bottom of the map, you're going to have the Windows bar popping up, so it's not really full screen. Maybe I missed a setting on the out of game settings menu, maybe not, but in any case that's extremely annoying when trying to move out the camera and forces you to, well, waste a lot of time trying to move it properly. Difficulty-wise, the what I mentioned between the tutorial and the actual gameplay, the thing is that the battles out of the tutorial, they are obviously very much doable. However, you do start to feel that you need a bit more explanation of how things work that you really didn't get from the tutorial. There's also the detail that the health and, well, the status of your party, if they're dead, alive, how healed they are, nothing of that gets reset between fights. So if you are banged up a little bit from a fight previously, you are going to have a hard time going to the next fight. Has to be said as well that the pace of the game is pretty slow. On a turn-based RPG, it's expected that you have to wait for your enemies to take turn. However, the animations and the time that the NPCs, even the NPCs that are, PC controlled, if you are fighting as someone else, you are expected to have to wait for them to decide on things. But the time that you have to wait for NPCs to decide what to do and then take that action, and then for the animations for that action to occur, it is actually pretty slow and really slows down the pace of the game by quite a bit. It would be nice to have like a slider or something to make them do at least the animations faster, so you could go through the fights a little bit quicker. Because otherwise, like I mentioned, I played the game for a couple of hours, and I think I did at most 4 or 5 fights in there. A welcome addition to the combat system are the 4 cards that you see at the bottom of your screen. You unlock more cards as you play, and they have special effects. In this case, a fire totem that explodes after a couple of rounds and hits everything in its range, friendly and enemy included. So those are all nice things that you have to actually try to sway the battle in your favor, even if you do have to play strategically, obviously. Speaking of strategy and combat, it is a bit telling that you are missing a lot of the explanations from status effects, shields, things like that, damage values. None of that is really explained to you in the tutorial. You just have to wing it and figure out what to do. Sometimes there's icons over your characters that you don't even really know what they mean. So yeah, it's really a kind of a discovery tale right there. Story-wise, you can really see the influence that Borderlands has had on this game, both in terms of aesthetics and the tone. The whole dialogue between your character and other rival tribes is very telling of the kind of tone that they want to give to the humor in the series. However, I can't say that it really works out. Maybe from the lack of voice acting, maybe just a bit of awkward writing, I'm not quite sure, but it does not have the same effect as Borderlands has. Other cities and outposts, like the one visiting right now, are really nothing to write home about. There's like maybe 5-6 NPCs there, and you can transverse them on foot within like 7 seconds. So that it's not really a very big immersive world building with a lot of NPCs and characters to talk to either. As a general roundup, the game does have potential, however I would like to see a lot of things fixed into it, such as a better introduction to the game, as the transition between tutorial and the game is a bit harsh and you don't have a lot of explanations, as well as a bit better pacing in the game itself, so you don't fight like 2 battles per hour, and that's about it. A few bug fixes would be nice, like the not having a settings menu in-game and the Windows bar keeps popping up at the bottom whenever you move your mouse there to move the camera. That really breaks the gameplay experience and makes it a lot worse than it has to be. The last piece of advice is at least put an exit game button on your game. I get it that you want people to keep playing it, but not providing an exit button is definitely not the correct way to do that. So that would be nice, because otherwise I had to just tab out of Windows and kill the window or the process to actually get out of the game. All in all, I cannot say Dreadlands is really my type of game. It's just not the style of game that I like. It might be different for other people, but that aside, it does seem to have some things that really need some polishing. Starting from the fact that there is no settings menu in-game to change your settings, be them audio or video or whatever. You have to do that from the launcher before you launch the game. That is kind of a essential thing in the game these days, I would say, all the way down to the fact that there is basically no exit game button, and I had to alt tab and just close the window manually to actually stop playing when I was done with it. So those are all things that really need improvement. The game is not super easy, it's not super difficult either. It takes time getting adjusted to the tactics and how you should play in those scenarios and the priorities that you should have while deciding what to do, but that's all part of the game. It does seem to have a reasonably steep difficulty curve though, and the tutorial leaves a little bit to be lacked, and you have to kind of explore and figure it out yourself without not so, it's not that it needs to be spoon-fed to you, but you are missing essential information, like when you have to shoot stuff from range and you need to put the ammo back in the weapon. There's not really an instruction that you have to do that, or even how the system works. You just have to figure out, oh yeah, I have ammo in my bags, I have to drag it to the weapon. You just have to kind of figure it out yourself, really. Same thing for the med kits, equipment items that you loot, bandages. There's no explanation how a lot of things work, and you just really have to wing it. The game seems to be in reasonably early-ish beta, so plenty of room for improvement, and I'm sure plenty of other additions will follow before the game goes live. Hope it is a nice one. I do enjoy the type of world building, even if it's kind of a blatant rip-off, but it is a nice, well, I'd say that it is very well suited to that theme, and it really does give you that feel of that type of kind of wasteland, semi-post-apocalyptic world that Borderlands kind of brought us. I can't see myself buying the game, unless, even if there are massive improvements to it, it's just not the type of game that I enjoy playing for an extended period of time. However, I do believe that there are plenty of people out there that would like to play a game of that genre, and if so, this might be what you're looking for, as long as some refinements do happen. This has been Attic PC Guy. Drop a comment, tell us what you think about Dreadlands. Are you excited to and what it's going to turn out to be? Do you not care at all? What do you think could be done better? Would like to hear all of that sort of stuff, as well as a bit of commentary on the game review itself. Do you think I'm touching on important points? What do you think I missed or left out? Would love to know, so that I can also improve in the future, obviously. Consider checking our other videos, subscribe if you would like to see us grow in the future, be able to deliver better content to you guys. That's what we really need right now to grow, is to get a bit more subscriber count and a bit more reliable view counts as well, so that would be extremely appreciated, guys. You have no idea. In any case, hope I'll see you guys in the next video. Have fun, and I'll see you later.